What's up? Plitty Sports Gamer here, and I got two dumb 49er rumors that I've seen on either videos or on the net. I can't possibly ever seen this happen, especially the second one, which probably is kind of a joke, but there was been talk about it, so we'll get into it now. The first one is 49ers GM John Lynch reignites Kirk Cousins to San Francisco. There is no way Kirk Cousins is going to San Francisco. Kirk Cousins has been Minnesota's quarterback for the past few years. He's a solid enough quarterback. He's not good enough to take a team to the next level, and you've seen that in Minnesota. Minnesota has some great talent on that team through the years, and he's never been successful with that team. I don't even think he's been to the NFC Championship with that team. A good quarterback would have taken that team to the Super Bowl and probably won a Super Bowl by now, but Kirk Cousins has not. The hard-to-kill idea of Kirk Cousins playing for Kyle Shanahan has returned. The story that won't die is the one about Kirk Cousins someday playing for Kyle Shanahan. Full stop. When the 49ers were looking for a quarterback, I wanted them to sign Kirk Cousins. I wanted Kirk Cousins to go there. Yet that did not happen for some reason, and the story describes it down below, which maybe I'll get into it once we see it in this article. While it's nothing more than a fairy tale, the idea rises from the ashes every time there's a quarterback drama with the San Francisco 49ers, the latest of which was sparked by 49ers general manager John Lynch at the NFL Combine on Tuesday. At least the article admits it's a fairy tale. We may have to look at the quarterback market in addition to Brock Purdy and Trey Lance to insulate ourselves from whatever may happen. That is true. They need to add a veteran quarterback to back up Trey Lance. And I had a video discussing possibilities of quarterbacks like Nate Sudfeld, Nick Mullins, or Andy Dalton. And there's some others that were mentioned going to the 49ers as a backup, not as a starter. I just did a video of Tom Brady going as a starter and them trading away Trey Lance. That's a little more believable than Kirk Cousins going to San Fran and trading Trey Lance to Minnesota. And it's true, Purdy says Purdy may not play in all 2023 after suffering torn ligaments in his throwing arm, and Lance is unproven after suffering a broken foot in his second career start. Whether they're in the market for a starter-level quarterback or a veteran who can be a reliable backup to Lance is what nobody knows. They definitely need a reliable backup quarterback. They don't want to fall into the same situation they had against the Eagles where Josh Johnson was trying to lead them to the Super Bowl. That's never going to happen. So they definitely need a quality backup quarterback to fill in if Purdy or Lance is their quarterback, because both have proven to be injury prone. Lance more than Purdy. Purdy did have the rib injury when he started. Then he got that freak elbow injury. 49ers quarterback situation comes as Minnesota prepares to make a decision on Kirk Cousins. Will Minnesota let Cousins play out the final year of his contract or give him a long-term contract extension, be it 3, 4, or 5 years? Vikings GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah said Tuesday that Cousins is good enough, but they're currently trying to decide how long they think he can play at a star-level threshold. That's a good point that he mentioned. Cousins is good enough, but not great. He's just not a great quarterback. He's a solid quarterback, but not a great quarterback. He seems like he makes the mistakes at the worst time. Then there's other times where he's like unstoppable throwing the ball. But most of the time, he makes the mistakes that cost the Vikings the game. So the Vikings GM gets into, we talk about necessary, sufficient conditions in math. A necessary condition is having a starter-level quarterback, a quarterback of above certain threshold. Having a good level quarterback is a necessary condition. Kirk Cousins meets that threshold. So we know that. Yes, the Kirk Cousins meets the good level quarterback. That's like a duh statement. Okay, now how do you build the rest of the team around him to make sure you could win in that way? Different quarterbacks require different things around them, but we know for sure Cousins meets the threshold. How long does he meet that threshold? Those are things we got to answer. Is there a chance to add someone? Is there a chance to add somebody maybe with different skill sets? Those are all questions we got to answer. So that's not one right away. But I know one thing. I know he's a good quarterback. He meets the first threshold, and that's the question a lot of people can't answer with a yes. So we got to make sure we treat the proper importance, and that is it. It's obvious that the Vikings GM is not pleased with having Cousins. He wants something better at quarterback. And I don't think Trey Lance is the answer he's looking for, because they don't know. We have no clue how Trey Lance is going to perform. He has very limited games as a starting quarterback. And in those games, mostly he has failed to be consistent, great quarterback. That teams like the Vikings, who are on the threshold, and the 49ers to lead them to the Super Bowl. We don't know if Trey Lance could do that, and most likely he cannot. That's why the team was leaning towards Purdy, because he had that it factor more than Lance, and I don't think Cousins has that either. Purple Insider's Matthew Collar made it pretty clear a month ago that Cousins to the 49ers doesn't make sense unless the Vikings are planning to tank in 2023, and San Francisco doesn't have any first or second round picks in this year's draft to give Minnesota. Yeah, the 49ers, they don't have any picks. They gave away their farm with Lance. So they have no first-round picks like the next 3 years. They have nothing to trade teams with. They might have a second or third or fourth-round pick and a player or two players, maybe, to get someone like Cousins. I just don't see this happening. And here's the part of the article where I was shaking my head at the 49ers. And if Kyle Shanahan wants Cousins, like, why didn't he make this move back then when he had the chance? Once again, we travel back to 2018 when the 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan admitted that he and Lynch were keen on trading for Cousins before they ultimately got Jimmy G from the Patriots. If they wanted Cousins so bad, why didn't they get him and not Jimmy G? But we can't look at the past who would have got more success in San Francisco, Jimmy G or Cousins. Like Jimmy G, for the most part, was very successful, leading to NFC Championship and one Super Bowl appearance, which they should have won, but they didn't. So who knows if Cousins would have had more success in San Francisco than Jimmy G. But I was keen on Cousins because I thought he was a better passer, a lot better passer than Jimmy G. And I was hoping the 49ers would sign him, but they didn't. And this is why I don't think they won't trade for him now. Lynch then told the ESPN radio affiliate that Shanahan was mourning because I think everyone knows his master plan was to have Kirk Cousins come in eventually. And in 2020, just 6 days before Cousins signed his first extension with the Vikings, never seen someone want a quarterback as bad as Kyle Shanahan wanted Cousins. I don't believe that. I really don't believe that. Like I said, if you wanted him that bad, they would have got him. They really didn't want him that bad. So here we are, the Vikings at crossroads and the 49ers at quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. I mean, that quarterback could be Purdy. We'd be crazy not to bring up the idea, but in the end, Cousins not being in purple next year is probably a fairy tale. Cousins will probably be in Minnesota, and if I was Minnesota, I would just let him play his contract out, give him one more year, and see what he could do. See if he could lift him higher than like a first round defeat or a divisional round defeat. See if we could take him to NFC Championship, see if we could take him to the Super Bowl before I give him another extension. So that's the first article I wanted to get through. The second one is a pipe dream of the 49ers, and mostly like Nick Bosa. 49ers, Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa both in a Niners uniform one day. That will never happen, I don't think. It has been discussed before, but what if the 49ers somehow managed to have both Nick Bosa and brother Joey Bosa on the same team at the same time? They probably had a chance to have that already before Joey Bosa signed that huge extension, Los Angeles Chargers, but they didn't try to trade for him. So it could have happened then, but it's definitely not going to happen now since Nick Bosa is about to sign a huge contract with the 49ers, probably averaging a little more above $30 million a year. Not terribly long ago, Niner Noise broached the thought of having San Francisco 49ers All-Pro edge Nick Bosa joining forces with the older brother Joey Bosa of the Los Angeles Chargers. It would be awful difficult, yes, but thought it'd be fun. This is why this article is just a joke article, and a joke for me to actually mention this, because with the money involved, there's no way. Heck, even Nick Bosa thought it would be the same point down the line, yet he remained more focused on his reachable goals at hand. 2022 has proved to be those goal-reaching years for younger Bosa, finishing with the league-high 19.5 sacks, the Niners' top pass rusher. Was also named last year's Defensive Player of the Year for his efforts. And that result in eventual payday that could make him the richest non-quarterback in the league currently. Meanwhile, down in Southern California, Joey Bosa had a frustration campaign that saw him play only 5 regular season games, snapping a streak of Pro Bowls at 3 and raising some questions about his long-term durability. While no one would wish any such injury on Bosa brothers, injuries may be the only way the two wind up playing with each other at the same team anytime soon. They won't be playing for the same team anytime soon because of their contracts, not injury. Maybe if they both get injured within their contracts, then the next time the contract's up, maybe they'll be dirt cheap Maybe that's what they're saying, that the only possibility. Even Nick Bosa is enticed the thought of having his older brother on the same defensive line. I think him on the other side of the D-line might break the NFL. That chance is happening, however, are awfully slim. 49ers can't afford Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa on the same salary cap. Bosa is poised to earn a contract extension that will net at least $30 million annually, setting a new record for outside pass rushers that will exceed the contract given out to Pittsburgh Steelers edge TJ Watt, $28 million. Joey Bosa, meanwhile, once led the NFL in biggest defensive contracts with an annual average of $27 million. It is important to note that both he and Nick Bosa are represented by the same agent, having two premier edge rushers making between $27 and $30 million annually. Not only work if the team has a quarterback on a cheap contract, the Niners have this, and some bare bone deals elsewhere in the roster, which the Niners do not. However, with top money being paid out to Pro Bowl and All-Pro stars like left tackle Trent Williams, tight end George Kittle, linebacker Fred Warner, wide receiver Deebo Samuel, dishing out the money to both Bosa brothers isn't affordable. No way. At least for a salary cap of $224.8 million currently. So if you have Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa, there'll probably be $57 million combined for that next year. That's 1/4 of the salary cap. There's no way the 49ers would do that. That said, should either Bosa wind up dealing with serious injuries that would otherwise derail a financial stock value, perhaps a team like the San Francisco could afford to have both on the same roster at the same time. Since no one wants to plan on that being the case, though, it's possibly best to leave the fun thought as it is. That's what Nick Bosa is doing. The Bosa brothers are injury prone. I was worried the whole year about Nick Bosa getting injured. Both Nick and Joey Bosa have always been injury prone through the years. There's been slim times where they both played a whole season. So maybe the injuries will take a toll in the mega deal contracts, and when they're over, maybe they'll be cheaper to sign, and maybe it'll happen. Maybe the possibility could happen just to relive their dream of playing together. Maybe they'll sign very cheap, so they will be able to play together, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. And with their injury history, who knows if they'll be able to play after their contract is over. So what do you guys think of both of these articles? Kirk Cousins going to the 49ers and the Bosa brothers playing together. Both is not going to happen, especially the Bosa. That won't happen. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Thanks. See ya.